You're listening to Men of Abundance, episode 170. This is Pay It Forward, Aloha Friday. I am what I am, and that's all what I am. But are you?
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
Aloha, Men of Abundance. I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast. Today is Pay It Forward Aloha Friday, and it's the end of another week, the beginning of another weekend, and it's Super Bowl Sunday. What do you guys have going on this weekend? You going to sit around and watch the game? Of course you are. Many of you are. I don't watch the games all year long. I just don't get into it. It's just not my thing to sit around and watch the games all year long, but I do get into watching the Super Bowl. I like watching the World Series. I like watching the World Cup. My wife and I absolutely love watching the Olympics. We love all the energy behind the do-or-die competition involved in all of those sports, but specifically the culmination of the World Series, Super Bowl, Olympics, World Cup, all of that stuff. I totally dig that part of it. And, you know, I got to thinking about this. I heard somebody say the other day, and I was watching one of the old cartoons, the old Popeye cartoons, where he always used to say, I am what I am, and that's all what I am. And I got to thinking about that, and I was thinking, man, what a limiting belief to have about yourself. I am what I am, and that's all what I am. You know, after talking to so many men around the world, both for the podcast, for Men of Abundance, and just offline, just in general, talking to men, so many men define themselves by who they are and what they are doing as a vocation. For instance, many of these guys that are on the field, many of these Super Bowl champions, and already champions in my mind just for getting to that point, and actually just for playing in the NFL. I mean, very, very few people get to that point. But many people in sports, many of these guys and women in sports, they define themselves by that sport. They define themselves by that activity that they do. And then when they get injured and they can no longer do what they do to define themselves, to make a living, then they lose their mind. They literally lose their mind. They try to figure out, well, who am I then? What am I going to do now? And many men, I can think of one off the top of my head, Lewis Howes, who played football, and he got injured. And he was this guy who ended up staying in his sister's basement, as I recall, for quite some time, and then finally kicked himself in the ass. Well, it took some time. Some guys came along. He started getting into personal development. Now he owns School of Greatness. He's got the podcast School of Greatness. He's got a huge empire going on that he's building for himself around the whole School of Greatness brand, and he's completely redefined himself several times, I might add, over the years since he finally got his crap together. And I can go on and on and on with stories like this, guys. Don't put yourself in such a limiting box. Don't say that, well, since my father and my grandfather was poor, since they were broke, that's all I'm ever going to be. Since they were construction workers, that's all I'm ever going to be. Since my mom was a school teacher, or since my mom was nothing more than a housewife, which redefine that, because that in itself is a full-fledged business empire in itself. But since my mom did nothing more than stay home and watch the kids and raise us kids, then that's all I'm going to be. No. Number one, all of those things that I just mentioned are amazing things. They're amazing activities. They're amazing things to do with your life. But that doesn't have to be all you do. That doesn't have to be who you are. You can be multiple people. And for goodness sake, to begin with, moms are multiple people. So that's all. I'll get off that soapbox. We can be there forever. But the fact of the matter is, you have to redefine yourself on a regular basis in order to continue growing in this world that we found ourselves in today, in the day and age that we're in today. Because quite frankly, we already know there are many jobs that existed 10, 15, 20 years ago that do not exist today. And there are jobs today that will not exist 5, 10, 15 years from now. But there are going to be other jobs and other vocations and other business opportunities and other ways to redefine yourself that haven't even been invented yet. They haven't been discovered. And you might be the one that discovers it, that creates it. And the way to do that is to get out and experience as much as you possibly can. Read as many books as you can. And for goodness sake, get into some sort of a mastermind. Either get into the 48 Days Eagles with Dan Miller, or get into Aaron Walker's mastermind. Get into the Dad Edge mastermind. And I can go on and on. There are so many different amazing groups to be a part of out there. Get into the Men of Abundance community. If you're listening to this right now and you're a man and you're not in the Men of Abundance community, what are you waiting for? Get into the Men of Abundance community. All you got to do is go to menofabundance.com, click on the members tab, and request access. I'm doing that right now because I want to have control of the guys that go in to the Men of Abundance community. I want to make sure that it is just men as best as I can. I want to make sure that it's not somebody who's going to go there just to spam the whole group about, their business opportunity, which I'm sure it is a great business opportunity, but that's not what it's there for. It's there so that we can have strong, hard conversations about living a life of abundance and prosperity in family, faith, finances, and fitness. That's what it's for. It's for us. It's for you. So get in there. If you're not into the Men of Abundance community, then go get into some other community. There are so many out there that I'm personally a member of. Check out my Facebook page. See what groups I'm a member of. Join some of those groups. And then from those groups, there are other masterminds that are even more in depth. Another one, the Iron Council with Ryan Mickler, one of the past guests of Men of Abundance. He's got a great mastermind group for you to be a part of. So all of these are ways that you can redefine yourself and find out about skills, learn about skills you didn't even know that you had, so that you can continue to grow and be the man that you know you deserve to be, have the abundance that you know you deserve to have, as well as the prosperity. All right, guys, I want you to have an amazing, safe weekend. Make sure you share Men of Abundance with everybody you come in contact with, or at least the ones that you like. And get into the Men of Abundance community today, right now, because we got some amazing things coming up over the next year here in 2018, and I am just busting at the seams to launch this stuff out to you guys. All right, go out and live your life of abundance, and guys, make sure to pay it forward.